Hey there, welcome to Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Today we're going to plant some carrots, and I'm going to show you the same trick I've used every year to plant these carrots, and maybe some root crops as well if we've got time. Let's go. Who doesn't like carrots? I love carrots. My wife and I, we love the carrots that we grow here. If you've never grown carrots, I encourage you to try it. They're very easy to grow despite what people say. People say carrots have a difficulty, a high difficulty level. They don't really. I find that the difficulty level comes with germinating carrots. And the key to germinating carrots is that your tiny little seeds need to be in contact with the soil, in good contact with the soil. And they need to be kept moist for that entire 2 to 3 week period in which they are germinating. So that's the only difficult part, and if you stay on top of your gardening and you keep the soil moist and you do the trick I'm going to show you today, you'll find that carrots aren't really that hard. They're very rewarding. Let's go plant some. Alright, I've got this part of my garden bed ready for planting, and I've raked it out nice and smooth. There's a little bit of root mass still here from the previous crops, but yeah, we had to take these beds and remove all the nutsedge, all those weeds by hand, and that set us back a while, but I think carrots will make it through the winter just fine here in Zone 9A on the Texas coast. So I'm going to plant several kinds. I've got a cosmic purple, I've got a tender sweet, I've got an atomic red from Kitazawa seed, I've got a solar yellow, and I've got another atomic red. These seeds here are from Seeds for Generations. Seeds for Generations is a family-run business here in the U.S., and I really like their worldview. I like their outlook. I like their business model. Seeds for Generations is a good supplier of seeds. Seeds are quality seeds, and by supporting them with the link down below in my description, you'll also be supporting my channel a little bit. I am an affiliate for Seeds for Generations. I do buy seeds from other places. Obviously, there's some Kitazawa seeds there. I like Kitazawa, but I do like Seeds for Generations, so go check them out. All right, so we're going to plant some carrot seeds here, and I'm just going to sprinkle them into a trench, and I'm going to cover them over with some fine potting soil, and that will help them have good contact with the soil. These carrot seeds are so small, and they're notorious for difficulty when germinating them in the ground like this, but I'll show you how I do it. It's worked for me every year, and well, let's get some carrots in the ground. You want a nice level soil so you don't have places where water is just going to accumulate. You can see my soil is fairly coarse right here because I've got a lot of clay that I've turned up over the years, and it's been dried out, so there's a lot of coarseness here. Planting these very fine seeds into coarse soil is not going to work very well for you. So what we're going to do is make some trenches. We're going to put our seeds into those trenches, and then we're going to cover those trenches over with a very fine potting mix. And that will ensure that our seeds have the best chance for germination because they're in contact with that very fine potting mix. So let's make some trenches here. Make sure that our ground is nice and level. And pull out the weeds. So you can see I'm just making trenches about, a foot apart, maybe a little less than a foot. And they don't have to be deep. I just want a marked trench. And they are much too deep for carrot seeds, but you'll see how we plant them, even though these are deep trenches. We're not going to cover them over that deep. Just marking our lines here, that's all. Loosening up a little soil. I like my carrots to be about 10 inches apart in the rows that we plant. I always plan to thin them when they start coming up, but rarely do I thin them that much. I just harvest and let the progressive harvest kind of thin the carrots as you go. Again, I'm just trying to get some trenches here, that's all. Not really worried about depth because I'm not going to cover these trenches over. I'm just going to lightly dust my potting mix over the trenches. Okay, look how fine these seeds are. This is the atomic red from Seeds for Generations. And those seeds are very fine. So what we're going to do is, the seed packet says we plant them at 1/4 inch depth, 2-inch spacing. Well, these seeds are too small to really put one every 2 inches. If you've got time for that, that's great. But I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take a pinch, and I'm just going to kind of sprinkle them into the ground as I move along. Putting them into the trench just by sprinkling some seeds. Now, are they too close? Yes, some of them are, but that's okay. There are methods whereby you can suspend your seeds in a starchy paste and pipe them in like you would a cake, but I've never tried that. I don't have time for things like that. Alright, so these are all cosmic reds. So I've got a few rows here of cosmic red. What I'm going to do next is take some seed starting mix and just dust it over the seeds that I just put in my trenches. Just a little bit. About 1/4 inch. That is after all the planting depth that we're after. And what this does is ensures that the seeds you just put down are in contact with some fine soil and not necessarily that very coarse stuff that we've got here that wouldn't work well with carrots. So we want to cover up our seeds with this rather than the soil that we've got here. I've been using this trick to germinate carrots for a long time, and I've been into some great carrots for many years now. It seems to work great. So I've only got 4 rows here of these atomic reds, so we'll cover this row and we'll water it in really well. My seed starting mix is already moist, so that's a good thing. This peat moss based seed starting mix is notoriously difficult to water in unless it's pre-moistened. I happen to have some that is pre-moistened because it sat out in the rain for several rain cycles. So see, we're not covering over our trenches that we made with the soil we took out of the trenches. We're just lightly covering our carrot seeds with this very fine mixture that will promote germination, contact with the soil. And that's how I like to do it. That's what works for me. If you've got another method that works for you that you find to be helpful or better, let me know in the comment section. Always looking to try new things. Alright, we've got some carrots in the ground now. This makes me happy. One of the best things about winter gardening here in Zone 9 is that I can grow carrots through the winter. And I love it to come out here to see the carrots about this high, blowing in the wind like seaweed in the ocean. I really love it. I'm going to put some more varieties right here, and we'll have this planted. We're going to plant this solar yellow in these 3 trenches right here. That's about all the seeds you get in a seed packet right there, but that's plenty to fill these 3 trenches here. I have found that carrots grow really well in this raised bed, and I've had years of delicious carrots, all different kind of varieties. They're one of my favorite crops to grow. I have seen folks do surface sowing with carrots and had success, but no, I like to give them this little cover. It ensures that they have contact with the soil. That's what I need here in my context with my coarse soil here. Lots of compost in here, but also lots of clay, because every now and then I've got to really turn this soil up to extract the weeds that grow in it. And I had a lot of turning this year. I know the no-dig gardeners don't like to hear that. Sometimes you got to till your soil, and you know what? It's okay. Turn your soil when it needs to be turned. Don't be stuck to any one system of gardening. When you borrow from another system and that helps you, well, you'd be foolish not to do it. So sometimes you got to turn your soil. The only downside to turning my soil here is that when I get down below the 8 inches of raised bed that I have here, I bring up the clay, and that's what you see here, some of this clay. The clay has pluses and minuses. Clay is very nutrient dense, at least this black gumbo clay. It's actually very nutrient dense, but you've got to unlock that density. And the way to break up clay is with either organic material or compost, like this peat that we're putting on, or chemistry with gypsum or green sand. Don't put regular sand in your clay, you'll form what is essentially a concrete type bond between the sand and the clay particles. But if you use gypsum, there is a chemical process that goes on where clay particles actually release from one another because of the chemistry that's going on, and you can break up your clay that way. So if you've got strong, heavy clay, amend it with gypsum. Breaking up clay with gypsum is going to result in a process called flocculation. Flocculation is just the concept that the clay particles, through chemistry, with that added gypsum, begin to break down. But if you put like calcium-based sand in there, that's not going to break down anything. That's just going to give you trouble. So if you need to break up clay, loads of organic material or gypsum or a little bit of both. What you'll want to do next is keep these carrots well irrigated until you start to see the germination. If they dry out, they're going to die. So I'll come out here every day and I'll give it a light watering once or twice a day to keep that soil moist. And you should have really good contact with that peat moss based potting mix we put on top, and that should give you good results. You should be into some carrots really quickly. Let's see. Days to maturity, we've got 3 months, 2 months, 2.5 months on these. Germination in 10 to 21 days. What that means, that 21 days, that's 3 weeks. If you don't see your carrots coming up in the next, week, don't give up. Just keep watering, keep that soil moist, and in 10 to 21 days, you should see some carrots coming up. You can see that I've got some cabbages and cauliflowers. If you saw my last video, we put that in here in holes through our weed cloth. And man, we had a monster windstorm come through the other day, yesterday. All day yesterday we had 20-30 mile an hour winds and gusts up to 40 miles an hour. And I had just planted those little tender plants and they flopped around. The wind action desiccated their leaves a bit, and so I had to come out and water them several times. I think they're going to pull through. That's good. So yeah, the challenges of weather, huh? We gardeners, we're in tune with the weather. More than most people, but I think they're going to be okay. So now, this entire bed is now planted. My other beds are ready. I've been diligently working to get the weeds out, the nutgrass infestation that I had. And my third bed, I finally got all those weeds out today. We're going to let it rest a couple of days and see where the nutsedge that I missed starts poking its heads up. And we're going to go in there and tear that stuff out. Then we'll be ready to plant some daikon radishes over there. All right, well, that's how we do our seeds for carrots here. That's how we plant carrots. I put them in fairly densely, and I thin kind of as I go, if I thin at all. The thing about a carrot, you'll notice if you don't thin your carrots, you'll get 1 or 2 or 3 within a certain length of the row that bulk up for you. And then if you harvest those and leave the other ones behind that have not bulked up, you'll find that several of those will bulk up as well. So it's kind of like thinning as you go. But you can be more efficient. You can put 1 seed every 2 inches and you'll have a very efficient garden. You'll get a very good return for your labor, but I don't have that much time right here. I'm showing you how I do it, how it's worked for me every season, and that's efficient enough for me. I mean, what's a pack of seeds? $3? For $3, I get a big harvest of carrots this way. So, hey, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, I hope that I soon will. Please subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Happy gardening. Bye-bye.